Hello, and welcome to another installment of the Tolkien Collector's Guide's Hoarded Scrolls. Today we'll be looking at US Hobbits, 2nd edition Hobbits, printed by Houghton Mifflin. As we all know, Tolkien began work on The Lord of the Rings in the years after the Hobbit's publication. As the story evolved, Tolkien realized that he needed to change how Bilbo and Gollum interacted in the Hobbit's 1st edition to suit the plot of The Lord of the Rings. He also wrote a new version of the introductory note to explain an apparent discrepancy between the map saying that Thrain had been king under the mountain, despite Thorin's father Thrain never having held that title. This was explained as the map referring to a distant ancestor, Thrain I. However, this introduced contradictions with the text, such as statements that Erebor had been founded in the time of Thorin's grandfather, thus precluding an ancient Thrain I having ruled there. These were eventually addressed with changes to the 3rd edition. Allen and Unwin prepared a new edition of The Hobbit for release in 1951, and Houghton Mifflin followed suit. These American impressions, from the 5th through the 14th, were bound from sheets printed in Great Britain, corresponding to the same George Allen and Unwin printings of the 2nd edition. Unlike the Allen and Unwin printings, the American copies of the 2nd edition have a variety of different copyright pages, making them very difficult to identify in isolation. Some state the full printing history, while some only say printed in Great Britain. There is a long list of points that have been developed by comparing unknown American printings to known British printings. Steve Frisbee, for example, untangled the 9th printing, which differs from its Allen and Unwin counterpart on page 315. This divergence likely resulted from the cancel title pages Allen and Unwin was obliged to supply when they converted 9th printing sheets intended for British domestic use into Houghton Mifflin sets. Information regarding the print run sizes of the 2nd American edition of The Hobbit is held by the University of Reading Special Collections Service. The American 2nd editions from the 5th through the 14th printings measure 12.7 by 19 centimeters, containing 315 numbered pages, and have in-paper maps printed in black, white, and red. The frontispiece is printed in color, but the remaining color plates of the 1st edition were eliminated, with the exception of the 5th printing. The cover design is similar to the American 1st edition, only smaller, differently colored, and lacking the bowing hobbit emblem on the front board. Any additional points or questions on volumes, feel free to ask us in the comments section. The 5th printing. Houghton Mifflin issued 2 distinct variants corresponding to the British 5th printing. The earlier variant, 5A, issued in 1951, is constructed in a similar style to the subsequent American printings of the 2nd edition. That is, the title page states Houghton Mifflin Company, Boston, the Riverside Press, Cambridge, and the book lacks the printing history and colophon entirely. Even so, the sheets for the text body came from Allen and Unwin and thus are identical to the British 5th printing. The later variant, 5B, issued in 1953, is identical to the British 5th printing in every regard except for the Houghton Mifflin notation at the base of the spine. In particular, the title page states London, George Allen and Unwin, Ltd., Museum Street. The colophon shows the Allen and Unwin St. George and the dragon insignia and the addresses of the publishers' offices worldwide, and the title page verso shows the full printing history. Later printings. The 6th printing is a turquoise cloth. Copyright page states Unwin Brothers. The 7th printing is a khaki cloth. The 8th printing is a rust brown cloth. The 9th printing is a teal cloth. The 10th through 12th printings are a light green cloth. The 10th copyright pages shows the print histories, while the 11th and 12th do not. The 13th printing is a slate blue cloth. The 14th and last printing is a deep green cloth. Dust jackets. American 2nd edition dust jackets are nearly identical to British, except that Houghton Mifflin is printed at the bottom of the spine instead of George Allen and Unwin. The design is basically unchanged from the original 1937 edition of The Hobbit. Dust jackets declare the impression and often may be used to ascertain at least the approximate printing of the book. Sometimes, however, the publisher put dust jackets from one printing onto books of a neighboring printing. Also, lost, damaged, or discarded dust jackets are sometimes replaced with ones acquired elsewhere. Hence, the jacket cannot be considered definitive. The runes bordering the dust jacket read, The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, being the record of a year's journey made by Bilbo Baggins of Hobbiton, compiled from his memoirs by J.R.R. Tolkien, and published by George Allen Unwin, Ltd. The incorrect publisher's name was corrected to Houghton Mifflin & Co. for the 19th printing. Later, Houghton Mifflin 2nd and 3rd editions. Houghton Mifflin enlarged the book to 14 by 21 centimeters, commencing with the 17th printings. Prints 15 and 16 do not exist, probably in 1964. At that point, they abandoned importing sheets from George Allen and Unwin, parallel to the single British 15th printing. Houghton Mifflin reprinted The Hobbit 9 times from their own plates until the advent of the 3rd edition. They dropped the red color from the maps and removed the color frontispiece so that no color remained in the book's interior. The 17th and remaining printing of the 2nd edition are bound in light green with lettering in dark blue. Beginning with the 18th impression, the volumes state the printing number on the reverse of the title page. The 23rd impression is the final impression of the 2nd edition. The 24th printing belongs to the 3rd edition. It replaces the 2nd edition's description of the revised edition with a description of ruins. The type is completely reset and the page count increases to 317. While Allen and Unwin sheets appear to have been printed from linotype plates, clues suggest that Houghton Mifflin opted to film set the later printings of the 2nd edition. They did not photo preset new plates, rather they seem to have photographed the 14th impression. While the sheets are larger, the type block itself is identical. Conclusions that can be drawn. These 2nd edition of The Hobbit are highly collectible and highly desired by Tolkien collectors. Oftentimes they are confused by dealers with later impressions, as dealers are not familiar with the colors and they are often mislabeled in market listings. So over the last few years, collectors have seen that these impressions are all actually harder to find than their George Allen Unwin counterparts.